logging in. We're going to be talking about a very important subject about parenting, all things parenting. We want to help you invest in the most important group of people in your life, which is your family. Many of you, I know that a lot of you have businesses or careers, and you want to be successful in your career, in your business, but make sure that in that search, you don't sacrifice what's most important. I've made that mistake many times throughout the years, mostly me, right? So today we're going to be talking about that. Do you feel disconnected from your kids? Do you feel like your kids are making friends with maybe not some of the best friendships that you would have chosen for them? Are they falling prey to peer pressure? All those things can happen if you don't have a strong connection, if you don't build a strong friendship with your kids. Something that we have learned is that there are no guarantees either. But if you are struggling with anything related to parenting, we're going to do a lot of series related to that. We're starting also a coaching program. So if you want to just type up your questions that you have in the subject, we have for the last 7 years been building a business from home. And most of it was in the Spanish-speaking world, but now we started doing this in English as well. And so tell us, Pam, who are we? Let's get started.
We are Cesar and Pam, cesarandpam.com. We have been married for 30 years and have 6 kids. So we don't think we're experts. We just have a lot of experience. We've made a lot of mistakes. We're still making mistakes, still learning. Yeah. But we want to share. We want to share what we've discovered and help anybody that we can help.
Yeah, and so today, again, if you want to come in here and you're watching the recording, I would love to reply to you. What do you do so that your kids have a strong connection with you? So our kids are, how old are our kids, honey?
Well, our oldest is our only daughter, and she's married, and she's 26. And then we have a son that's married, he's 24. Mm-hmm. And then living at home, we have a 20-year-old, 16, 13, and 12-year-old.
Yeah, it's crazy to think.
They're growing up.
They're growing up. So there are different types of people that are going to be watching this. Number one, maybe you already have kids and you are concerned. You feel like you feel that you have a good relationship with them, but you're always concerned about how to strengthen your relationship.
I think we're always all concerned.
We're always looking, yeah. There's another group of people that maybe you're having specific challenges, specific problems with your kids from 0 to 18, and you're looking for some advice as to what to do or how to strengthen that relationship, to reconnect with them. And then there's another group of people that maybe you don't have kids yet, but you're thinking about whether you want to have kids, because maybe you came from a broken home where relationships were not the best, and you're thinking, man, if growing up, if having a family is going to be the way I grew up, I'd rather not have a family. But we want you to reconsider that maybe you can start brand new, a new generation with you. You can identify some habits that were destructive habits in your family. And it's taken me years to identify destructive habits in me. And you can rewrite, write a new history for your new family that you would start. So let's begin with this. We are creatures of emotion, creatures of relationships. We want to live in tribes, right? I don't know if you watched the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, an old movie from years ago, but the guy was left in a deserted island and he started going kind of crazy because he didn't have that connection. We all yearn for that human connection, and we believe in God, and the Bible says that he created man and women in his image and likeness. Now, this part is not in the Bible, but I always like to say that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit were in a perfect relationship throughout all eternity. And because their nature is to give, they're generous, they wanted to create us like them in their image and likeness, so that we will have a relationship with them. Now, in the Hebrew, the word image means mirror, reflection. And the word likeness means mold. Like when you bake a cake and you take out the cake, the mold has the same shape as the cake, right? So there are some characteristics that we have that are like God and some that are not, right? We're limited, we're finite, but we do have emotions, the ability to think, and the ability to make decisions. So since God wired us that way, I believe that he wired us to want to live in community, to want to be connected. And I think your children, are born in your home, they long for that connection. And when they're first born, that's the only thing they have. They have their mother, right? You're feeding the baby. And tell us about that. Honey, when we got married in Mexico, we lived in Mexico for 8 years. And I was teaching at an American school, junior high and high school, and you were teaching.
I was teaching kindergarten. Well, last year I taught, what was it, 3rd and 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
But I taught the younger kids for quite a while. Yeah, we made the decision that I would stay home. Really, I always wanted to stay home. And we just decided we'd rather have less money, but have that time, have that relationship. I wanted that relationship with my daughter. And I don't know, you asked me before, I've always wanted to be mom. I've always wanted to be a mother. I remember from the time I was a young girl taking care of little kids, or people would come to visit my parents, and I'd always end up watching the little ones and putting the baby to sleep. And I just always knew that I wanted to be a mommy. So
I would say don't feel guilty if you are a woman and you desire to do that. That is completely within your heart to want to do it.
And it's not like I didn't do other things. I didn't get married to you until I was 26. And before that, I was traveling, doing a lot of things. Yeah. And life, I loved what I was doing, but I always knew that I just knew that someday that was what I wanted. That was my heart's desire, to be married and to have children. So I think, I think it's a mission, it's a calling. I think it's all of us that are mothers, if we would see it as a mission and calling, I think we would embrace it more. Not that we don't do other things, it's just that we would see that as the center of who we are, and purpose.
And so what happened when you got pregnant with Natalia? We started talking about that, and we decided you wanted to stop working, and Natalia was born, and it was an amazing time for you to bond with her. I remember I would come home and you would say, she's my best friend, because you spend all day with her, right?
You can't replace time, that you spend with your children. And I think because our children are older now, we realize how quickly they grow up. And so that is something that I know when you're in the moment, when you have little ones, sometimes it feels like it's all you do is you're with them all the time. But that time really goes by really quickly. And that's where you form such a strong bond and relationship.
Yeah. I remember at some point, maybe when Natalia was like 1 or 2 years old, man, times were tough in Mexico. I was not making very much money. And now we didn't have your income. And somebody offered you a job to go work for another American school. And we did the math of if it was worth it or not. And after adding all the money aspect, we realized that it was not going to be that much more. Right. And the sacrifice was going to be too high.
Yeah, and we know that there are mothers, there's situations where the mother needs to work, and there's a lot of single moms, and they have to work. And so having childcare is something they have to do. So we're not saying that it's the only option, but definitely it was a blessing, and it's a privilege if you can do it. And I hope everyone would see it that way. But no matter what, I think what we found is you have to proactively build that time with your child, whether it's because you're at home and not at a job, or whether it's when you're not working outside of the home. It has to be intentional. Our lives are so compartmentalized, right? We have our job, or we have the children's activity, the children's school. We go to church and they go to Sunday school, and we're in this service, and they're over there. Everything's separated, or easily separated. And so I think we have to be very intentional and look for how are we going to build relationship in the time that we have with our kids.
Yeah, and there's so much pressure in the culture today, which is part of the problem of why there's so much the lack of connection. Pressure to have your kids in so many activities. Feel free to write in the comments if that's your situation of someone you know, where you feel the pressure that, man, my kids' friends are in this soccer league or team or in this extracurricular activity, and you just feel that weight that they're supposed to do that. We're supposed to be busy, and we don't have the time that we used to have years ago, when you can just enjoy a meal every day and just have time to play in the backyard with your own kids.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just entertaining your kids all day, because that's not what we did. It's not like constantly planning every fun activity. No, it's doing life together. If I'm in the kitchen, it's inviting my kids into that world. We're going to make breakfast together. We're also going to clean up together. We're going to eat together. We're going to go clean the house together. We're going to learn how to do the laundry, put away your clothes, but build life together.
The most precious resource that God has given us is time. We can never, our life and our time, because we can never get it back. Friendships, jobs, even churches, neighborhoods, that will vary. That will change from time. Jobs businesses from time to time, but your family will stay there forever. In the little bit of time that you have, I think we're not very strategic on how to use it. I have a question that I ask whenever we do parenting conferences, and it's, what is your definition of a friend, of a best friend? Like, if you want to ask yourself, who is the best friend of your child? The answer is the most generous person in their world with their time. Not with material things, not with money, with their time. Because the number one thing that children seek is time. And the big challenge is that we live in a complex society that is putting so many demands, especially through social media now, so many opportunities to do things. And we've created a life that is with a game that we cannot win, because the time that we have left is not enough to build that. Just like the example of that guy who went to a restaurant, supposed to be the brand new, the best steakhouse in town. And the guy went there to eat, and he was so excited, went there with his wife, and they order a meal. The prime steak of that steakhouse. And finally, after a long wait, they brought the dish, and he started looking in the salad and started looking on the, what do you call it? The side dishes. And he finally found a piece of meat, and it was this big. And he called the waiter and he said, "What is this, a joke? What is it?"
The waiter said, "No, at this restaurant, what's important is quality, not quantity."
Yeah, and he said, "Excuse me, sir, but what's most important is a restaurant is the quality, not the quantity." Okay. And today, many times, many people may say, "Hey, I don't have quantity time with my kids, but I have quality. Quality time, not quantity, but quality." Let me ask you something. Can you predict quality time? You can't. Are you going to sit your child down and tell him, "Okay, sit down, son. We have 30 minutes. Open up your heart. Tell me what you're worried about. Tell me about your fears, your pains, your concerns. What do you want to be when you grow up? Your dream. Tell me." Your kid is going to be what? What do you want? What do you want to know? That's trying to go too deep, too fast. Quality, write this one down, only takes place during quantity time. Quality only takes place during quantity time. And I don't want you to feel guilty, like, man, this guy just, I don't have any time, and he's telling me, I feel guilty because I don't have enough time for our kids. You know what? We have enough time. But many times we create a lifestyle with the activities and with this machine that Steve Jobs created. And we did a live last week when we talked about an amazing documentary called The Social Dilemma, where we talk about the dangers of living in a virtual world. And that is one of the reasons for disconnection. I see whenever there is a teen pregnancy, drug usage, kids hanging out with the wrong crowd, is because they were accepted. They received approval in that crowd, something that they were not finding at home. You can do a test. Observe what your kids want to do when they have free time. Who do they want to spend it with? With you, or with other people, or on their phone if they have a device? What do they want to do with their time? Sometimes, again, we create a life that is too complex, that does not allow for free time. And we were talking about during our Spanish Facebook Live, honey, about Teddy Roosevelt. You want to tell us that story or you want me to tell it?
Well, you can add about what
Go,
I
go.
know about that. Teddy Roosevelt was a president, and he was meeting with a writer, a journalist, and they were in his office.
But he had he had a first wife, right?
Oh yeah, his first wife had died, and he had one daughter from that marriage, and she was now a teenager, and
Her name was Alice, and she was famous. Why was she famous?
because she didn't follow the rules. She was very
Rebellious?
yeah. She liked to smoke when smoking wasn't something that most girls were doing. She wanted to drive in a fast convertible. So the media loved her. You know, she was a story.
Yeah, she disagreed with her dad with a lot of political subjects that her dad would agree with, she would disagree with. So then what happened that day?
Yeah, so so the president was meeting with this journalist, and Alice came bursting in and interrupting and just basically contradicting what Teddy Roosevelt was saying, and in this interview that he was having. And so finally he just lost it and sent her away. And after, slammed the door and
Get out of here before I throw you out the window. Those were his words.
Okay. So then he apologized to the journalist, just said, hey, I'm sorry, but I can either be Alice's father or the president of the United States. There's no way I can do both.
Wow. I can either be the president of the US or Alice's father. I cannot possibly do both. He's a president, right? But I want you to ask yourself, have you created a lifestyle that is just too busy where you have no time? There's no possibility of you building a deep relationship with your children because you don't have quantity of time. Maybe your career, maybe if you have a business, maybe you have a network marketing business and you're building your company and you want to get to the top rank, but you're sacrificing your kids. I remember we had some friends in Guadalajara, Mexico, when we lived there. And she worked for a company that was mostly women, and they did makeup and stuff. And she always said that they told her, hey, Mary, I forget her name now, Maria, it's not important that you do the laundry. What's important is that the laundry gets done. It's not important that you feed your children. What's important is that they're fed. And that is not true. Because what are some of the the most important opportunities we have every day for us to build those relationships? Because you may be thinking, what are you talking about? Am I supposed to take my child out to eat every day or for ice cream every other day or go to the movies? Or no, it's at home. It's doing life. Like what, honey? Give me some examples.
Didn't I say that? Like,
That was in the previous. I'm sorry. So we're doing the Spanish Facebook Live.
Spanish. No, I mean, we're gonna get up. We're gonna make breakfast so we can make breakfast together. And when they're little, that means more work for you to include them. But you do it together, and later, they're taking on more and more of the work. You're cleaning up together. Eating together. It's even things like, we just tend to think, okay, we're going to go to church and they're going to have their children's activities and we're going to have our adult activities. But we can look for opportunities to serve together as a family. Look for groups that will meet as families. We had a group on Saturday. We all, families met together and we went bike riding on the trails together at a park. Create those kind of groups, create that kind of community with other people where it's not just, everybody going off to do their own thing, but we have activities that we do together. And of course, the things that we do in our home, it's not just entertaining our kids, but we're working together.
Be strategic. If you realize that you're busy with your work, you have your business, and there are certain activities that have you separated as a family for most days of the week, then treasure carefully the few hours that you have. And maybe if you're during a busy time in your life, family life, and your kids are at an age where they need your connection, your attention, maybe that's not the time for you to go and be part of the worship team. Because that's one evening, if you do have to practice one night or two. I remember it happened to me when I played in a soccer team. And I had to decide that it's not the phase in my life for me to play in a soccer team. I realized that my phase was going to be coaching my kids' team at that moment. Even for our two youngest ones, there were a couple of years, 3 years, that we just pulled them out of their teams because it was going to be too much of a commitment. And we just played soccer in the backyard instead.
I was thinking about that with athletics. You know, it's a lot of pressure on families now. And I know I felt it before, like, oh no, you know, like we don't have them in soccer yet. And they're not going to be any good if they ever want to play. You know,
True.
you feel like you're holding them back. But I was thinking on the other side of that, now that we have kids that have graduated from high school and college, how many of kids that I know that in high school were injured and that ended their
Career.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even get to play up to age 18. You know,
Sure.
I can think of different families that was a really important activity, and it had started when the child was really young. And I don't know, I think we need to analyze. I think a lot of times it's not even good for our kids what we're requiring of them to become these athletes, you know, almost like they're going to be professionals by the time they're 12. It's really not good.
So anyway, send us your questions. We're going to stop right here. Send us questions about the subject. We're going to get into specific tips and solutions for the situation you're going through. Maybe your kid is from 0 to the toddler years, or maybe your kid is from 5 to 11 years old, or maybe you have teenagers and you're trying to see how you can reconnect with them so they don't go and make connections with other peer groups that maybe is not what you would like for them. We all feel the responsibility of raising successful, responsible, empowered kids that can become successful, responsible, empowered adults one day and have a relationship with them long term. And like I said in the beginning, we've made many mistakes, and we're going to give you a lot of those on the next few lives. But we want to help you. If you think that this is something that would help somebody that you know, share the link. The recording is going to be right here, and we're going to upload it to our Cesar and Pam YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram channels. And we're going to be here every Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to help you how to have success in your career, in your business, without losing your soul, your family, or your health in the process, specifically in your parenting.
Okay, we're Cesar and Pam with cesarandpam.com.
Thank you, guys. Put down your comments right here and send us your questions, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for logging in.